Hi, this is Jeff Hamlin, and I'm the Director of Learning and Development at the Climate Corporation. And today I'm going to show you how to use the scouting and note-taking functionality in the Climate FieldView platform. The first thing to know is that you're going to want to download the Climate FieldView app to your mobile phone and or your iPad. This app looks like this in the App Store or the Google Play Store. It's got a black background with the yellow F on it, and this can be downloaded to both Android and iPhone platforms. If you've only used the Climate FieldView Cab app before, which is only available on iPads, be sure to download this app because this is the one that you're probably going to use most often in the field when you are doing scouting and note-taking activities. The next thing I want to go through is if you are an iPad user, there's a couple of steps that you're going to want to take to make sure that you can use this application most effectively in your scouting and note-taking activities. So if you are an iPad user, what I want you to do is launch the mobile app, click on the Fields button at the bottom of the page, click on any field from your field list, and then once you're at the field page, click the three dots in the upper right-hand corner. What you need to do is you need to enable Show Region Notes and Show Current Location so that when you're in the field scouting, you can see that little blue flashing location marker to understand where you are in the field. And this is something that is not turned on by default when you first install the app on an iPhone. This takes care of itself in an Android system where it will prompt you to turn on location. But if you're an iPhone user, make sure you turn these options on so that you can use the scouting tools effectively. Okay, that said, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my iPad and show you how we can use scouting functionality in the system. So I've gone ahead and I've got my iPad here, and I'm going to launch my Climate FieldView app, which is the black app with the orange F at the bottom of the page. And if I'm in the field and I want to take some scouting notes, the first thing I'm going to do is click the Fields button at the bottom of the page, and then go ahead from the field list that I have on that page, pick the field that I'm in and that I want to take some scouting notes on. So in this case, I'm going to click the carriage house field, and I'm showing you this on an iPad, but the functionality is very similar in both iPhone and Android. Some of the buttons might be in slightly different places and the screens look a little bit different, but almost all of this functionality can be accessed on an iPhone or an Android phone, which is where you'll most likely be using it most frequently. So once I come to the field here and I want to take a scouting note, for example, maybe I've been walking across this field and I am taking stand counts early in the season. Now I am not in this field currently, but if I was, I would see my blue location dot flashing as I walked virtually across this map. And if I'm in a particular part of the field where I want to drop a scouting pin that will mark where I saw this in the field, I have two options. I can either use the pin button in the lower right hand corner, and if I click that little pin button, it will say tap the map to drop a pin, and I can tap where I am standing to drop that pin. Or on an iPhone or an iPad, I can just long press on the map where I'm standing, it will drop a pin. Note that the long press functionality doesn't work on an Android phone. You need to use the pin functionality in the lower right hand corner. Once I drop the pin, I can give it a note. I can say, here we go. It's stand count equals 35,000 because I was out there checking it. I can add additional notes if I want to. I can add a picture and to use the camera on my phone to add a picture of what it is that I'm seeing in that part of the field. I can mark the pin as seasonal or permanent. So in this case, it's a seasonal note. This is what the stand count is in this part of the field this year. I wouldn't want to see that note again next year. If I was marking a tile outlet or some permanent feature of the field, I could go ahead and check the permanent button. And then year after year, this pin will always be there to remind me of that physical feature of the field that exists in that place. I can change the color of the pin, so I might say that, hey, all of my stand count notes are always purple, so I'm going to use a purple pin here, and maybe all my disease notes are always red. Each farming operation usually sets up their own color categorization so that when they look at a map, they know by looking at the color of the pin what kind of note might be behind it. and that's totally up to you to choose which colors are associated with what kind of events. It'll show me the GPS location of where that pin has been dropped, and I can also add some tags here. We've got a lot of built-in tags into the system where I can say stand count, for example, and choose that as a tag, hit done, and it's going to then allow me later in the season to search for all of my pins that have been dropped that had stand count as a tag on it and group all those notes together. So feel free to use tags so that you can more easily find your scouting pins and scouting notes later in the season. Once this is all done, I can go ahead and click Save, and it will save this note not only to my copy of the field, but if I've shared this field with my agronomist or my brother-in-law or the guy that's doing custom application in this field, everyone will have access to see this note, update it as necessary, or get access to that information on demand. The other thing that you can do with these notes that you may want to do is in the upper right hand corner there's a little box with an arrow, and if I push that little box with an arrow, it's going to allow me to send this note via text message to anyone that I want. And if this is a note that someone needs to see fairly urgently, what I'll want to do is I might want to send this via text message. I would hit message. It will open up this note in a message, and I can send it to someone in my address book. And this will cause their phone to, of course, buzz with a text message that they'll see that says, hey, the field carriage house just had a note logged on it. It was a stand count note, and they can see the exact location where it is. They can go ahead and open the app on their phone, see those details, and respond as necessary. So if you do want someone in your operation or someone that you're working with to see a note fairly urgently, go ahead and use this functionality to send it as a text message and let them know that that note has been logged. I'm going to go ahead and click Save to save this note. You'll see that it saves the purple pin, and that is now available for viewing to anyone who this field has been shared with. Another way that we can log scouting notes is maybe it's not a point location that we want to save, but maybe we've walked the field and we see an area of the field where there is something that needs to be done. Maybe I walked the southwest corner of this field and I said, you know, the stand count here just isn't very good, and we probably need to replant this part of the field. In that case, rather than dropping a pin, I can go ahead and choose the little circle button in the lower right-hand corner of the page, and it's going to say draw any shape on the map with your finger. And so I could basically take this and draw with my finger around the area that I walked where our stand count is particularly poor and we probably want to replant. So I draw that big shape there on the screen, and then I can go ahead, just like any scouting pin, I can add a note and I can say, you know, need to replant. And I can put a note here that, you know, stand count less than 10,000. And I could add a photo to give some context for other people in the operation to see just how poor the stand count is there. Again, I can make it a seasonal or a permanent note. I can change the color of the tag if I want. I can, again, put that tag on it so I can find it more easily later. I can say it's a stand count note. And then I can go ahead and hit Save, and it will save that region to the field that anyone else would be able to come in and find. And so the guy that comes in to replant this, he can pull up his phone and he can see exactly where in this field we wanted to do that replant. Can hit Done, and that'll finish that up. Let me show you a couple more examples of how we might want to use scouting notes to communicate across our operation and make everyone work more efficiently. So I'm going to pull up a field here called Jefferson Center, and if I pull up that field, I'm going to actually go back in time here to 2016, and 2016 is a year where I have a lot of data already loaded for this field. And I just want to show you how the scouting notes can combine with all of the data maps that you may have in your Climate FieldView account to help make everyone work more efficiently. So in this case, I'll pull up the planting map and pull up the hybrid map. And what you'll see here is that on this hybrid map, in 2016, I split the planter here, and I had half the planter treated with quick roots and the other half not treated with quick roots. So as you can imagine, if I was walking in the field and scouting, and I saw my blue location dot moving across this field as I walked across it, there's a huge benefit to me to have this data available, because as I walk, if I see a strange pattern in the field where I see some striping, maybe I'm not the one that planted it. But I now have at my fingertips the ability to pull up that as planted map and see that in fact I had a seed treatment on one half of the planter and I didn't have it on the other half of the planter, and it gives me context for what I'm seeing as I walk through the field. Or I might pull up something like a population map and say, hey, I'm seeing some different stand counts out here. Did we flat rate this field, or did we, maybe was it a variable rate prescription? Again, I may not have planted the field, but I have at my fingertips on my phone the context and the ability to pull up the as planted map by population and see that in fact it was a flat rate script, and have that help me understand what I'm seeing in the field and if it is or is not a problem. I can continue and pull up things like my planting date map to see if there were replant areas or if it all went in on one day, and understand when that particular field was planted. But I can also look at spray maps and see the last time that the field was sprayed and what it was sprayed with. So a lot of context to help make all the people in your operation aware of what has happened in that field and how it may contribute to what they're seeing in the field while they're in the field live. Let me show you one more thing here. If I go ahead and choose another field, let's go to, let's try this Omni 211 field. Pull up a field, and this situation is, the way that you are going to use the scouting and note-taking features in Climate FieldView is really up to you and your operation. Different people find different ways that they need to use it to help communicate across all the people in the operation. But one of the things that I've seen before is that maybe you're working with a custom operator who's going to come spray this field, and he's never been to the field before and may not know where it is, and certainly doesn't know it as well as you do, things like where the driveway is. So rather than giving him or writing it out for him saying, hey, it's on this street or that street, and he potentially enters the wrong field or spends some time searching for it, what I could do as the farm manager is basically give instructions via these scouting pins. I could come in here and say, okay, I know that Bob needs to go spray this field today, so I'm going to drop a pin. And I'm going to drop it where the driveway is, so he knows where that is. I'm going to color it, let's say I'm going to color it orange, because all my, my spray notes are always in orange. So I'm going to choose orange as my color here. Now I'm going to give it this note a title. I'm going to say, Bob, enter field here and spray burn down. If I can spell burn down correctly. There we go. Enter field here and spray burn down. I don't need to add a photo. This is a seasonal note. It's just a one-time thing. I can leave the color as orange. So I'm pretty much ready to go here. And so I can go ahead and either click the box with the arrow in it to send it to him via text message so that he gets it, or I can just click save and save that note to that field. And now it is available for him to see on his phone. So with this, I've now given an instruction. And so I wasn't in this field at all, but I'm using scouting notes to help others understand what they need to do. Now what Bob can do and how this helps him is if he pulls this up on his phone, he can zoom out. He can see where he is right now in the sprayer. So he can zoom out on the map and find his location by seeing his blue location dot there on the map. And then he can navigate a path to this field. Once he gets to the field, he'll know he's at the right one because he can see the map on his screen. And he can also find the driveway where he should be entering that field. He doesn't have to drive around it and try and figure out where the driveway is because he hasn't been there before. You've gone ahead and marked it for him and made his life easier so he can work, again, more efficiently and more quickly on your behalf. Just another one of those ideas of ways that people use scouting notes. That said, I think I'm going to stop talking about ways to use scouting notes, and the last thing I'm going to show you is just where these all show up in that mobile app so that anyone in the operation can view all the notes that have been logged in a given day. What you want to do is click the Overview button on the bottom of the app to bring yourself back to the main page of the Climate FieldView mobile app. And it should take you back there where you're going to see a set of tiles that will be all the different things you can see in the Climate FieldView mobile app. Now, it looks slightly different on a phone versus the iPad. These tiles are all stacked vertically versus spread out horizontally. But anytime that you come back to the main page, you can always click the activities section, and it'll bring you to a list of daily activities, all the notes that have been logged in your fields. So as you can see here, under May 17th, I've got 3 new activities that have been logged. I've got the note that says, Bob, enter the field here to spray burn down. I've got the note about where we need to replant in the carriage house field. And I've got the other stand count note that we logged from the carriage house field. So what this does is it gives you, if you're the farm manager or anyone in the farm operation who wants to stay up to speed on all the different things that are being noted and written about across the operation, you can always launch the app, come to this activities section, and just see this daily digest of every note that was taken in the field by all the different people that might be working on your behalf. So this is a good thing to get in the practice of looking at, probably at least at the end of every day, to make sure you haven't missed anything, any notes of problems that someone might have logged in the field. You'll get this full summary of all the notes here in the activities section. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to switch back to the slideshow here. Last thing I have for you is if you have questions, please contact our climate support team at 888-924-7475, or you can reach them by email at support@climate.com. They are people that know farming in our St. Louis office, and they're a great team to work with and can certainly help you get pointed in the right direction if you do have questions about anything climate FieldView related. Lastly, if you enjoyed this content or if you want to learn about other features of the Climate FieldView system, you can sign up for webinars at climate.com/webinars. Thanks everyone, and we look forward to working with you this season.